Hello, welcome. Oscillating live the brain's body, help to improve brain, body, and sense events. Hey, it's the ultimate experience. Because we're talking about two things, right? Health and wellness, right? Brain and the body, because we got to figure it out. We got to figure out what works and what doesn't work, right? Because we want to be able to perform at the highest level possible, right? But there's dimensions to this, right? So many of us get caught up because you see we're thinking all the time. But when you're thinking all the time, what are you thinking about, right? If you're just thinking, and you don't have anything at the end, right? And you question yourself, well, why do I spend so much time in my own thought, right? And the issue then becomes, what is thinking about thinking, right? And I want to answer that question because thinking is about thinking things through, right? And when you think things through, you're moving through emotion, fear, anxiety. We're talking about building confidence. So if you're just thinking and you're not thinking those feelings through, well, I always tell you, feelings and emotion are not the same thing. Feelings is direct cells to the brain, okay? That's nerve tissue. So you feel things, right? That's the sense path, transferring feelings to the brain, right? That's why it's feelings of emotion, feelings of thought, feelings of reflection, right? Because those are messengers going to the brain and the brain sending forward feed to handle that traffic. So when you say thinking, right, there's levels to that. You just don't think. You have to think it through. And when you think it through, that means I'm going to move through this emotion in my sense path that has a social cognitive affect on me because it's the external environment pressing up against my receive path for access to me, my brain, my sense of feel for self. And so that's your conflict, right? And you have to think it through. Why? Because you got to accept that energy and allow the brain to process it. As the brain is processing it, your brain is responding through emotion, thought, and reflection from your knowledge base. That's thinking it through. See? So when I say thinking about thinking, what am I thinking about? I'm thinking about how to get myself out of this jam I'm in. And I got to remove me out of the way. I can't be emotional, right? Not in that sense. Even when I respond, I cannot be emotional when I respond. That's why you want it balanced. So thinking things through, right, is steps to this, right? So in that forward feed, right, you have process variables, filters, okay? The knowledge base, that's what knowledge base is. It's your filter because your brain pulls from memory, the knowledge base, and it filters that traffic. So when you respond, yeah, you feel that excitement, you feel that urge, you want to get off, you want to get, but you don't. Why? Because you're controlled, because the brain's in the lead, right? And you're thinking through these feelings of self, okay? So when I talk about thinking, and that's why it's bothersome sometimes, because when you're thinking, right, it is a real lot of work because your brain is trying to take the lead and you have to understand, okay, wait a minute. No, we're talking about you. We're talking about me too. Sense of feel for self. Relax. It's okay. It's coming. It's coming. This doesn't happen. And it keeps happening. And the only thing you can do about it is ride out. And you can't ride it out just because you say, I'm going to ride it out. You got to ride it out, which means I got to deal with this emotion. I got to deal with this hate. I got to deal with this love thing that I have for certain people that work me to no end. Okay? Thinking it through without fear, because you have to first learn your brain So don't just jump in and say thinking about thinking is so simple. First, you got to learn your brain. See? That's what the brain body is all about. How do I learn the social cognitive side of me? Because I live in this environment, and this environment, people, other things, keep, to my opinion, attacking me. Okay? And so it automatically excites me because I have to be on the defense, on the guard. Okay, so stop right there. Education. Educating your sense of feel for self. That's the thinking part. Understanding that you want that forward feed to come with information in it that allows you to learn through the experience of self. Because self is carrying the ball. So what's the difference between self and the brain? No, they're one thing, but listen to this. Listen to this. When you're teaching people about the brain, there has to be clarity because you're in the body. And we talk about building confidence. Okay, so if I just tell you, okay, your brain's everything. And so how do you relate to that? So what we're going to call it, the mind? The mind is a reflective state of the experience. That's not a sense of feel for self. Sense of feel for self is a process variable. Meaning when you go to war, for example, you sit near in a heated discussion and the information is flowing through you. What do you think that is? It's telling you how to respond. Your sense of feel for self and the brain. Are you listening? Or do you override and say, that means you lack control and discipline? Okay? And management. Okay? You can put self on any one of them. I don't do that. See? Because the management, control, and the aspects of learning how to move through the crisis of self involves multiple other variables. And if you have a behavior, because the social cognitive effect is one you over, meaning that the environment has created a behavior in you that you have yet to experience because it was given to you because you were associated with a group of people or someone and you accepted their thinking as your own, and you haven't experienced that. And I deal with a lot of kids who growing up, blended families, single parent homes, and the bottom line is children spread pain, others spread pain, and that person that's in pain now did not experience the beginning or the originations of those pains. They just accepted them in dialogue with another person, and now they have a mood and a mind state as though they actually had that experience in their own lives, when in fact they didn't. They just accepted that negative flow of energy, right, from the environment, which overwhelmed their inner sense of feel for self and the brain. And what that does is that removes self and the brain, because now this other person's experiences are in a mood state, a state of mind, that there is less reflection coming from the brain because that's what the brain did. It set up a defense mechanism, right? And the defense mechanism is that state of mind. Forward feed. What are you forward feeding? Negative energy or a defense. So you talk to the person and they're already up in arms. And you only said one word because nothing got through because they're not working from a sense of feel. They're working from a sense of self. Identity, trying to figure out who am I? What am I? Because they've never experienced it themselves. They're living through someone else's experiences. Thinking about thinking is crippled because you're not thinking at all. See? You're not even feeling. You're just reacting. Reacting. There's no brain activity in reacting. Go look at it. Go study it. It's a reflex, the contact. You're not processing. You're just moving through the anxiety, okay? And it's eating you up on the inside. And what can you do about it? Learn how to live through feelings of hurt. I just said it, but you got to accept it. I'm hurt. I must learn how to work through these feelings. As you do that, the mood changes. Why? Because now the brain's in the lead and you're acting because you got to move through the hurt to perform. So you act through those feelings of hurt long enough for this functionality in the sense of seed path to reach a knowledge base, the experience, okay, of the information changes the way you sense and feel contact because you become more aware of your feelings. Now you're able to move from point A to point B to point C. Can you cooperate? Can you cooperate even though you know that it's going to hurt quite some time? Because you have to cooperate to heal yourself. See, because that's healing time. Healing time, over time, you have to stay the course and feel that negative energy, understanding it's going to get better. Matter of fact, it's already getting better, but it's just not sustainable long enough for me to say I'm better. That's thinking it through. That's thinking it through feelings of thought. Because what's to lead the brain, right? And what does the brain produce, right? What does it produce? Reflection. And what does the body do? It receives the messages and responds, right? Because the brain's in the lead, right? So we can talk about self-research, self-discovery, and self-help because these are all relative principles. Why? Because what I'm talking about is how do you catch yourself from falling? You have to first understand I'm talking about self-research. You got to know who you are on the inside and what are you working with, right? The brain's body. No, because that's to help you understand the neurophysics of you, that you are a social neurologic event, okay? So I didn't put cognitive in there because I want you to understand that the environment is the problem, right? And if you're toxic, that means you're the problem because your environment is full of negative energy, right? And how do you heal from that, right? You got to accept the fact something wrong. And it's not the environment, it's not the social side. It has to be the neural side of myself. And it has to be the way that I'm responding to this contact and my lack of ability to move through it and process the experience. We're thinking. We're thinking it through. We're thinking about thinking. Wait a minute. We are thinking. See? So what I'm trying to understand is that the reason why I'm having a discussion with you is because there's so many things. I go through interviews, 4 or 5 interviews a week. I do 6, 7 sessions, Zoom sessions with clients. At the end of the day, what are you trying to get them to understand? Calm down. Let it go. That ain't enough, though. What are you saying? Think this through. Calm down. Collect your sense of feel for the brain so you can learn how to help yourself move through the crisis of self because self has been impacted, okay? And you want to heal from the inside out, right? Because you don't want to live through hate, nor do you want to allow hate to drive you. So you got to learn from the inside out how to push that negative energy outward, right? And there's things that you learn that allow you to think it through so that you're grounded. You're not just pie in the sky, you're grounded in taking these steps to understand your brain with your sense of feel for self. And you know, because learning is the crisis. It's a learning crisis because you got to learn how to move through self-contact interaction. That's all inner. That's all neurologic. That's all the brain. So when you feel that you've had enough and you're tired and you can't take no more, look within yourself and understand, well, what are your outlets? Where are you releasing this negative energy, action, and feelings? Where are you releasing it? How are you releasing it? See? Because that's what the brain does, a communication system. It has to release that negative energy. And you don't release it because you're cussing somebody out. That's not releasing it. No. When you don't curse somebody out, look how the brain responds when you could have, but you didn't. That's how you rebuild that sense path and that receive path. Because what are you fighting against? dehumanizing your sense of feel for self any further, which is what an environmental stimulus is designed to do. Teach you not to love yourself, but to give yourself to the environment that's outside of you. That could be a person, an object, or a whole community. See? And what you're supposed to be trying to do is think it through. Think it through, because listen here, when you think it through, what I'm trying to get you to understand is that in level 4, the reflective capacity to respond is built and it's bridged. So whatever happens in that sense path, your brain is responding with new information, knowledge, and experience, and then vision. Because the brain just doesn't respond, it sends you choices to move through for a resolution. You just don't get information. The brain tells you this is what we need to do to combat these negative feelings that we're moving through. Thinking it through. See? Reflection. Forward feedback. That's thinking. See? And it's about thinking because that's what you're doing. The brain is continuously trying to figure out what we should and can do to reduce this tension, stress, and pressure that we're experiencing at this point in time. And try to do things that will help alleviate it in such a way that you don't have to experience it 2 days from now. See? And those are the choice decisions that we talk about, because that's what sense and receive path functions are, your choice decision-making capacities and abilities, the brain and the body. The body represents your ability. The brain represents your capacity to move through negative feelings of self, other people, and the environment, right? So what am I saying to you? Am I just talking to you, or am I revisiting some of our earlier sessions together? And I'm saying today, after all these experiences I've gone through since I went to North Carolina 2 months ago, I'm here, and it was keeps coming to me is thinking problems, learning crises, because you can't get through the crises without understanding that you have to learn how to learn to handle that emotion, and understand it has a process. And the process takes place through the interaction. So let's do it again. The contact, environmental, or inner contact. You wake up, all these things on your mind. I said mind, see? Because that's a reflection. When you wake up, reflections are hitting you right in the face, telepathically, brain, the sense of feel for self. And you're sitting there and you're working it over because, hey, I can't, why does that bother me so much? Well, the reason why it bothers you so much is because you won't get up and go do something to alleviate that negative flow of energy. And it's not saying that you got to go hit somebody. It's saying we need to go use our constructive outlets. Me, writing, reading, talking, acting, performing. Example, okay, first thing I try to do is, okay, no, I'm going to go to sleep. I'm going to calm myself down, and I'm going to put myself to sleep, okay? And I'm going to see if I can calm myself down, meditation, because I want to sleep, and reflection. So I'm saying, bring it on, bring the reflections on, because that's what I gotta figure out how to move through those reflections that are impacting my ability to sleep. And so I'm saying, bring it on, and I'm working it. And I have a timeline, right? I mean, when I was a kid, I like count to 100. You know, by the time I got to 60, I was asleep, okay? So what I'm saying to you is that you have to respond, because that's what the brain is saying. You have to give me an outlet, your sense of feel for self. An outlet. You don't go take a drug. No, because that don't alleviate the problem. That magnifies the problem, because now you don't put a toxin in your system, right, that you got to learn how to experience a sense of feel for self through in the brain, because now the brain is no longer relative because you got a foreign substance that's trying to replace the work of the brain to manufacture that exact thing you're trying to get the brain to do. Now you got a drug in there, and that drug is just organizing your whole functionality because, well, the work of the brain continues on. So now you're overwhelmed with a toxic drug and then the brain's chemicals. So what are we talking about? Thinking it through. Thinking it through. See, if the brain's in the lead of the body, you won't take the drug. You'll get up and you'll figure out how to do what's necessary and find out through self-research what's working for you. See, you are a constructive individual. You have to exercise those limitations. Some people like me, I go to my studio. Maybe I go review a couple of clips, 15, 20 minutes. I go back in the room, I'm asleep. Why? Because whatever it was that was bothering me is in my receive path. And as you move to respond, you're going to go do it. Something that's an outlet, because the information flow, the reflections are real. That's content, right? And so what I'm saying to you is that thinking about thinking is learning how to think things through so that you can reduce your anxiety, right? That you can self-compose, see? And not look for someone else to do for you what you must learn how to do for yourself. JFK, okay? So all I'm saying to you is this. I've been going through this for weeks now. And here I am thinking about thinking, because every time I think that I found a solution, there's more to think about. So what am I talking about? Thinking about thinking is an endless journey for all of us. But it's what are you doing to create the space, the capacity to store that information so new thinking evolves, so you're on the frontier of humanism science, the new frontier in education, the new frontier. I don't care where you go. Talk to them about what I'm talking about, educators, whoever, and they will not have a clue, but they'll tell you, hey, you're right. You're right. But what am I? I'm an African-American male. Now, I'm not talking a race card. I'm just telling you that what I'm giving you is 21st century information about your brain, and it's not a drug. I'm not offering you a pill. I'm offering you a sense of feel for self and recognizing the power that's inside of you, right? That you must learn how to move through, because you're the one that's in the way when you're confused and you're searching for that environmental effect, the sense of self, my identity, my character, my attitude, my personality, being shaped by external influences versus my inner sense of feel for self, right? If I don't have an inner sense of feel for self, then how can I handle being the person I am? Because I got to deal with it from the inside out, not the outside in. I got to learn how to filter that environmental information so that it does not disorganize my sense of feel for self in the brain and lead in my body, so that my body is always controlled, right? And I know I'm driving the car, the body. I'm driving the car, the body. I'll say it again. I'm driving the car, the body. See, you're driving the body. See, not Joe Blow or this teacher or anybody else. You accept responsibility. You are the owner of your brain's body. But what are you doing with it? Because it's a thinking machine. See, you don't just think and think you're thinking. That's what I'm trying to get you to understand. That's not thinking. Thinking is solving problems. See, thinking is reducing the effect that's hurting you when you cannot interact through the crises, right? That's emotion. You can't move through the emotion because it's impacted your ability to receive new information. because you're in a state of mind. And the state of mind is saying, we're not doing no brain work. We're not going to move any further. This is resolution for me. Just knowing that I'm handling you. And you're not growing, you're not evolving, you're staying the same. And while you might be thinking you're prospering, you're really not. Because there's more to it than that. Being able to interact at higher and higher levels is what the brain's functionality is all about. So sensory seed path functioning, that's all about reaching new and innovative levels, like the artificial intelligence, right? That's you. When you figure out how to move through yourself, see, the computer don't have to worry about itself because the computer don't have self. So you can design a computer and it's going to do exactly what it's told to do. Now you, no. And that's what's unique about you. That's why I'm telling you, thinking about thinking gets you caught up in confusion because you got to know what you're thinking about and how relevant it is to what you're actually experiencing. And make sure you're not experiencing somebody else's thoughts and behaviors and just planting them as your own because you don't want that to happen to you. That's not deterrence. That's ignorance of your sense of feel for self. That's why you're in crises. You get to school, you can't learn. Why can't you? You were doing great last year. What happened? Well, over the summer, I met Jody, and Jody, and we got to talking, and I don't want that to happen to me. So, hey, I'm done. This is it. I call that gang assimilation. Plant the experience. Watch it grow. Nurture it. Follow. Do what I say. Don't you do it. Don't try to think for yourself. No. I do that for you without telling you that. By feeding you this information that makes you feel threatened and sorry for me. Sorry for me, threatened, and just do what I say. Because I'm an authority on what you're experiencing. So now you're experiencing me without experiencing your sense of feel for self. And now you're in crises because everything you think is not thinking at all. See? Because you got it all garbled into something else other than your own realities. So when I talk about attitude, is that your attitude? What's the attitude that's been handed down to you because you lack a sense of feel for self in the brain? This has been Dr. Christopher Kevin Slayton. I've been talking to you. Very, very serious issue. Child development is a very serious issue to me. Parent development is a very serious issue to me. Teacher education is a very serious issue to me. More importantly, health and human service professionals are a very serious group to me. And the only way we're going to be able to win this war, we're talking about what happened and what continues to happen. And we continue to see the crises expanding. We have less and less people on the timeline able to successfully complete the timeline with the capacity that's required to replenish the human resources in our educational systems. When I say education systems, I'm talking about economics. I'm talking about family development. Okay? I'm talking about business ownerships when I talk like that. So this is the bottom line. You learn how to live to learn how to think. You learn how to think to learn how to respond. Now, you think those words are just simple. They are science-based words that relate to contact, interaction, cooperation, participation, performance. Okay? Because you have to have an effective strategy, and it's all about thinking it through. You cannot become a performer just because you have a personality and sustain it. So you got a lot of actors who are on drugs because they're out there acting, but they don't know how to think for themselves, to think these feelings through. So when they run out of energy and the reality sets in, man, this is not really work. It's some terrible work. Because once I get through acting, I can't move through the contact interaction with somebody else. I gotta get the drink. I got to do something because I'm just so uncomfortable. How do I get through this? Stop, 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 stop the pain, stop the pain, stop pain. Understand what you're feeling. Oh, I said it again. Understand what you're feeling. It's not an emotion. Understand what your brain signals are sending brain body events. Look at your body. Your body is doing something it's not supposed to be doing. You're using your body inappropriately because you don't work through a sense of feel for self and the brain and the lead of the body, right? Because you can be as fit as you want to be and is sick even more because you're not healthy, right? Intellectually. So you can't build a body without the brain, right? Like the brain doesn't work without the body. But my solution is simply this: accept these two words, the brain's body. And then begin to understand, I'm trying to tell you, start learning how to live inside your brain's body. I don't want to be complicated, convoluted. That's thinking about thinking. Because what are you thinking about? When you wake up, what are you thinking about? And what are you moving? Your body. And if your body can't move, what are you looking at? Where do you think the problem is if your body can't move? It's a neurological defect. That's your brain. Okay? And what do you think you're thinking about when you wake up and you can't see clearly and you can't hear clearly? What do you think you're talking about? A disconnect in your neurologic systems. The transfer of social content between body and brain. Okay? So when you learn this system that I'm talking you through, you will then begin to understand in the 21st century we're unplugged. And the only way we can survive where artificial intelligence is taking over is through advancing your own human potential. That means you got to learn how to handle this emotion, the confusion of thought, right? And the overwhelming effects of reflection, right? When you're so worried and the brain just sitting and sitting and sitting and sitting, but you can't feel that because you got a state of mind. See, in a state of mind, like I'm telling you the truth now, the state of mind is what you're really working with, but the brain is trying to get through that, but you won't get up and do anything about it because your state of mind got you like, okay, you know me, well, let me just, I'm gonna try this, I'm gonna try. No, you got to understand, you got to open that sense of receive path. You got to move through that negative energy. See? And as you're moving through the negative energy, watch how you light up. Because that state of mind is still there. But you're building a knowledge base, and the knowledge base is saying we must change enough. Like an alcoholic that's been drinking for years and years, then at some point they come together, they say, enough. I have to learn how to feel this, to feel the fact. I mean, I can see myself in the mirror, but let me really experience it. Man, I look terrible. I feel terrible. Look at all that. So disconnected. Oh, that ain't it. Keep working. Everybody's talking about keep working every single day. Live each day to become more informed on what it's going to take for you to recover. Okay? That's healing time. This has been Dr. Slayton Live, Brain's Body. Hope you stay tuned long enough for me to say that. Now, you got to subscribe. And the reason why you want to subscribe is just to show support for the work. See? No one else is doing this work. What we're talking about, the brain's body, go listen, Google it. No one's doing this work. And then read what they're talking about. They're talking about computer science. I'm talking about human science. That you and other people in your charge can learn how to move through and improve their human potential, because this is not animal research or animal science. This is human system science. Working with children and families, educators, health and human service professionals for over 25 years. You want to talk about children over 30 years, parents over 30 years. And what am I saying to you? Yes, it's hard to listen because I'm telling you, and the environment is saying, no, he got to prove himself. He's got to, yes, I've already proved myself. That's why I am the best kept secret. Because what am I really talking to you about? Stop self-destructing. Stop thinking you're doing something when you're not. Where is your data that you're doing something that's better than what you could be doing if you were less like that and more like yourself? And when you lay down at night, that self that's bumping up against you and saying, well, when are you going to start listening? Talk to the brain, not the body. Listen to the brain. No, you're afraid of that. That's what we're teaching here. See? And understand that you're grounded. You got to ground your practice of listening to your sense of feel for self and the lead of the brain's body through the practice of learning what is that you're doing inside that home. Oh, wait a minute. You got to clean that up, right? But that's what we're talking about. What are you doing to help your child move through school? Are you going there angry and thinking that's enough, just your physicality is enough and not your intellectual capacity to sit there and have a dialogue with school officials? And if you don't have the intelligence, don't be afraid to build it from the inside out, right in front of your kid, and letting your kid know, okay, but this is leadership, because I need to understand so I can help you understand, because this is something we both got to get through, right? And then the neighborhood. Doesn't matter what neighborhood you're in, it's where you're going. And you don't get where you're trying to go unless you could think it through. That's why you think it through in your neighborhood. Because when you do, you keep moving. You don't get caught up. See? I mean, my parents moved me every time the neighborhood got too raw. Okay? I was moved. So I'm just saying to you, no, thinking about thinking is how the brain functions, and it's a problem-solving tool. Wait on IT. That's what IT is trying to do for you. Everything they're producing right now is, okay, you don't do that. We're going to do that for you. You have to write it. We will write it for you. See? You know what I'm saying? Yes, right. They got the software that's writing for you now. Okay? I mean, it's all about dehumanizing further you so that you're more like the computer. Just doing what people tell you to do. Just whatever you're formatted to do, just do it. Don't question, just do it. And that's why a lot of our kids out there angry and upset and willing to take to the streets, but they know they don't have no support. There's a huge disconnect between the generations, right? And it's true because the brains are not functioning the same because of these experiences. Now, I said in closing, go back to my 2016 book. It talks about substance abuse-related disorders, and it's in everybody's family. What happened to our brains? Okay, say it's not true. How do you account for the decline in intellect? Systemically. Doesn't matter which family dynamics you come from, it's been infringed upon by the environmental forces or influences where people are trafficking negative drugs and information for profit to break down your ability and capacity to respond. I'm Dr. Christopher Kevin Slayton, author of Education Science, The Brain's Body, Help to Improve Brain, Body, and Sense Events. Just learning how to sense, feel, and focus, or you teach another person how to sense, feel, and focus can, in many, many ways, change their lives. The brain has to be in the lead, and your sense of feel for self has to know it and be in the lead of it. And that's the experience, the ultimate experience of the brain's body. You're trying to reach a person to help them, but they can't accept the help because they can't accept your information because it hurts. Chris Rashid Slayton. He meant so much to me, and the things he'd done with me, he was a part of my work. But more importantly, when he became sick, I had to look at myself because I should have caught it, but I didn't. My wife should have caught it, but she didn't. We're both doctors. Self-discovery came from him. That's what we had to get him to do in order for him to manage and control his schizophrenia. We had to see him and acknowledge that he was different. And every day he would continue to be different, but you wanted him to try to be better. Without my son's life, I would not be the man I am. He taught me how to walk in my own shoes. God blessed me with the honor to be with him his whole life.